Welcome back, everybody, to The Deep Dive. This time, we're going to tackle something a little different, something I think a lot of you can relate to. Mobile games. We'll be using the book, Mobile Game Design. From creative spark to polished product as our roadmap for this deep dive.
Sounds fun.
So get ready, because we're about to uncover the secrets behind those games that keep us glued to our screens.
Yeah. This deep dive will take you through the whole journey, from that initial idea all the way to launching a polished game in the App Store.
Yeah, a polished game. That's the dream, right? I gotta admit, I play a lot of mobile games, but I've never actually thought about what goes into making them. It seems like a totally different world compared to like console or PC gaming.
Oh, absolutely. Designing for mobile, it comes with a unique set of challenges and opportunities.
Like what? What kind of things make it so different?
Well, think about it this way. You're not working with a massive screen and a super powerful system. Instead, you have this small, portable device, and you need to make every single pixel count.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. You can't just like shrink down the graphics from a PC game and expect it to work.
Right. You have to consider things like hardware limitations. Mobile devices, they have way less processing power and memory compared to PCs or consoles. Developers need to be so smart about optimizing their games.
So they run smoothly.
Exactly. On a whole bunch of different devices. I mean, imagine a game designed for the latest, iPhone struggling to run on an older model. Players are going to get frustrated so quickly.
Yeah, they'll just delete it and move on to the next game.
Exactly. Frustration is a killer in mobile games.
Yeah.
You also have to think about the controls. Forget about those fancy controllers with all the buttons and joysticks.
Just touch.
It's all touch. Developers have to find really intuitive ways to use swipes and taps and pinches to control the action. A great example of this, Fruit Ninja. That whole game revolves around using your finger to slice fruit on the screen.
Oh, I love that game. So simple, but so addictive.
Right. It's simple, effective, and it really utilizes that touch mechanic so well. Now, not all games are about fast-paced action, though, right? What about those times when you've only got a few minutes to kill?
Like waiting for the bus or standing in line, yeah.
Exactly. That leads us to another big thing about mobile gaming, short play sessions. Developers need to make games that are engaging even in those little bursts.
Yeah, you want something that gives you a sense of accomplishment even if you only play for like 5 minutes.
Right, exactly. Think of those quick puzzle games or those endless runner games. The mechanics need to be super easy to pick up, and the game should have this nice, satisfying loop that just keeps you coming back for more.
It's almost like they have to design for those micro moments of entertainment.
That's a great way to put it. And on top of that, think about all the people playing these games. The demographics of mobile gamers are so diverse.
They aren't just like teenagers in their bedrooms anymore.
Definitely not. It's everyone. Different ages, backgrounds, interests. What appeals to a teenager might not resonate with, say, someone who's retired, right?
Right. You wouldn't try to sell a super complicated strategy game to someone looking for a 5-minute puzzle fix.
Exactly. And then there's this massive variety of game genres within mobile. You've got your puzzle games like Candy Crush Saga, action games like Subway Surfers, Endless Runners, strategy games, RPGs.
I mean, it's a whole world of games. It's like a giant buffet.
And some developers are even blending genres together, creating these totally new experiences.
Yeah, like mixing and matching.
Exactly. Like, think about Angry Birds. It's got puzzle solving, but it also has that really satisfying feeling of flinging birds at structures. And Fortnite. It combines battle royale action with building mechanics. Totally unique.
And even like retro-style games like Stardew Valley. Those are finding new life on mobile.
That's the power of nostalgia. People love those familiar mechanics. It really makes you see how much potential there is in mobile game design.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what are the core principles that go into making a successful mobile game? How do you go from a blank page to a game that millions of people want to play?
That's a fantastic question, and it really gets to the heart of game design. One of the absolute most important principles, innovation.
Innovation.
Yeah, the mobile game market, it is so incredibly competitive. You have to stand out from the crowd, and to do that, you need to innovate.
Innovation, yeah. But how do developers actually innovate? What makes a mobile game really stand out in such a crowded market?
Well, it's not just about fancy graphics or gimmicks. Real innovation, it often comes from the core game mechanics themselves,
Like how the game actually plays.
Exactly. Fruit Ninja, that we were talking about earlier, that simple act of swiping to slice fruit, that was super innovative at the time. It just took advantage of touch controls in such a satisfying way.
Yeah, it's like they took something so simple, like cutting fruit, and turned it into this whole new gaming experience.
Right. And then there's this concept of fresh gameplay rules.
Fresh gameplay rules.
Yeah, it could be blending different genres, incorporating unique physics, or using the phone's features in creative ways, like Crossy Road.
Oh, yeah. Crossy
Yes.
Road.
Yeah. It combines that endless runner genre with this cute, blocky art style, and that simple mechanic, tapping to hop across roads and rivers.
Yeah, I get it. It's familiar, but still feels new.
Exactly. And another crucial thing is accessibility.
Accessibility, right?
You could have the most innovative mechanic ever, but if it's too hard for players to understand, they'll just give up.
Yeah, no one wants to spend hours reading a tutorial just to figure out how to play a game.
A good mobile game needs to be easy to pick up and play, even for someone who's never played anything like it before.
So, like, a low barrier to entry.
Exactly. Angry Birds is perfect for that. The slingshot, it's so simple, but there's still strategy there. Anyone can enjoy it.
Now, one thing that kind of surprised me in the book was the emphasis on storytelling. Even in mobile games. I mean, most mobile games are all about quick, bite-sized gameplay.
It's true, a lot of them are, but you'd be surprised how powerful storytelling can be, even in those short bursts. Yeah. A good story can make players feel way more invested in a game, even if they're only playing for a few minutes at a time. Imagine a daily puzzle game that slowly reveals a mystery as you go, or an endless runner where the world tells a story visually.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can see how that would work.
These little things, they can add so much depth.
That's like those mobile games that come out in episodes, and you're like dying to know what happens next. You keep coming back for more.
Exactly. It's not just about the plot points either. It's about connecting emotionally with the characters or the world. Even a simple game like Cut the Rope, where you're just, feeding a little monster, can make you feel stuff.
Like you care about the little monster.
Exactly. And speaking of drawing players in, we can't forget about the visual style and the art direction.
Right, the look of the game.
Yeah. Those are huge in shaping the whole experience. Different graphic styles, they make you feel different things. Pixel art can give you that nostalgic, retro vibe, while sleek vector graphics might feel more modern.
And what about the sound?
Sound is so important. Imagine Angry Birds without those funny little noises. Those sound effects add so much to the game.
It's like watching a movie without music, right?
Exactly. It wouldn't be the same. But of course, all those visuals and audio, you have to optimize them for mobile devices.
To make sure they don't, like, drain your battery or anything?
Right. You don't want a game that looks amazing but kills your battery in 5 minutes or has awesome music that's all laggy and stuff. It's a real balancing act.
So we've talked about innovation, accessibility, storytelling, visuals, sound. It's a lot to think about.
It is. There are so many elements that go into creating a good mobile game.
It makes you wonder, though, where do developers even get their inspiration? How do they come up with these ideas in the first place?
That's a great question. And the answer might surprise you. Inspiration can come from anywhere. Really, anywhere, not just from games.
Not just from other games.
Well, of course, studying successful games is really valuable. Looking at their mechanics, art style, how they keep players engaged. But the book encourages us to look beyond games for inspiration.
I'm curious, where else could you find inspiration for a game?
Well, think about everyday life. Things you do, places you go, people you meet. Could any of those experiences become a game mechanic or a story element?
Interesting.
Maybe it's that frustration of waiting in line at the grocery store that inspires a time management game.
Or like watching birds fly, and that leads to a game about birds.
Exactly. Inspiration can hit you at any time, even when you're not thinking about games at all.
So you just have to keep your eyes open and be ready for those moments.
Exactly. And don't forget about art, music, literature, even history. Those can be great sources of inspiration too. Think about a game based on a piece of music, where the gameplay matches the rhythm. Or a game based on a historical event, where you can change the course of history.
That's amazing. There's so many possibilities when you start thinking about the world like a game designer.
Right. And once you have that spark of inspiration, that's when brainstorming comes in. There are tons of techniques for developing ideas.
Like what kind of techniques?
Well, there's free writing, where you just let your thoughts flow onto paper without judging them. Or mind mapping, where you start with one idea and branch out with related concepts and visuals. That can help you see connections you wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
Those sound great. I love the idea of just letting your ideas flow and seeing what comes out.
It's all about getting those initial ideas out of your head and onto paper where you can start working with them. And then, there's collaborative brainstorming, which can be super powerful. Bringing together people with different skills and perspectives can lead to some really innovative ideas.
Like a team effort.
Exactly. But the key is to have some structure. Set clear goals, define some constraints to keep things focused, and make sure it's a positive environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing.
I feel like that yes and approach they use in improv comedy, right?
Yeah.
Building on each other's ideas.
That's it. Create a space where ideas flow freely and people are encouraged to think outside the box. But then there are times when you hit a wall.
Like you get stuck.
Exactly. Writer's block for game designers. The book suggests using prompts and challenges to jumpstart your creativity.
Like what kind of prompts?
Imagine a prompt like, design a game where gravity works in reverse, or create a game where the main character has no memory. These prompts force you to think differently and come up with really unique ideas.
It's like giving your imagination a workout.
Exactly. And the cool thing is you can combine those prompts with rapid prototyping. So you're not just brainstorming in theory, you're actually building something, even if it's just a rough version.
So it's like taking that abstract idea and making it real so you can see if it works.
That's the idea. And that brings us to a super important part of game development: prototyping and iteration.
Prototyping and iteration.
It's where you take those rough ideas and start shaping them into an actual game.
Prototyping and iteration, yeah. It sounds really important. Can you break that down for us? What does that actually look like when you're making a mobile game?
Well, it's all about testing your ideas quickly. You build a very basic version of the game, just focusing on the core mechanics, and then you get it in front of players and see what they think.
Oh, so you're not spending months building a whole game before anyone even gets to try it.
Exactly. The book calls it the fail fast, learn faster philosophy. It's way better to find problems early on rather than wasting time on a game that no one enjoys.
So you're constantly testing and tweaking
Yeah.
based on what people tell you.
Right. And
Oh.
you're not afraid to throw out an idea if it's just not working. It's kind of like sculpting. You start with a rough shape and then you gradually refine it, making small adjustments until you get something you're happy with.
And that can apply to anything in the game.
Yeah, pretty much. The game mechanics, the levels, the interface, everything.
So how do you actually get feedback from people during this prototyping phase?
The book really stresses the importance of getting your game into the hands of real players, like your target audience, as early as possible.
Oh, so it's not just about asking your friends and family what they think.
Well, you can do that too, but it's really valuable to get feedback from people who actually represent your target audience.
So like if you're making a game for kids, you should test it with kids.
Exactly. You can do things like playtesting sessions, online surveys, even just sharing your prototype with people online. The main thing is to watch how people play your game, what they like, what frustrates them, where they get stuck.
It's like those cooking shows where they have taste testers try out the dishes and give feedback to the chefs.
Yeah.
You really need that outside perspective.
That's a great analogy. And what's cool about this iterative process is that it lets you be flexible. You're not locked into one path. You can experiment, mess up, and change direction as you go.
It sounds like embracing failure is a big part of it.
Oh, for sure. The book really encourages seeing failure as a chance to learn, not as like a defeat. When something doesn't work, you figure out why it failed, what you can learn from it, and how you can apply those lessons to the next version.
So it's about constantly learning and improving.
Exactly. Now, once you've gone through all that prototyping and iterating, and you've got tons of feedback and you're feeling good about the game, what's next?
Yeah, what happens then?
It's polishing time. This is when you focus on refining the visuals, the audio, performance, and user experience. Basically, you're creating that smooth and immersive experience we talked about earlier.
Making it all shiny and perfect.
Right. And remember, we talked about those hardware limitations.
Yeah, how mobile devices aren't as powerful as PCs.
That's where optimization comes in big time. Developers use all sorts of techniques to make sure the game runs well on lots of different devices without eating up all the battery life. Like reducing the size of the game files, simplifying the graphics for older phones, or cleaning up the code to make it more efficient.
So it's a balancing act between making the game look amazing and making sure it actually runs well.
Exactly. And then there's the user experience, making sure the game feels good to play. Think about the controls. Are they easy to use? Do they feel natural on a touchscreen? What about loading times? No one wants to wait forever for a game to load.
Right, if it takes too long, people will just give up and play something else.
Totally. All those little details can make a big difference in whether someone enjoys your game or not.
And it's important to test on lots of different devices, right?
Absolutely. You can't assume that just because a game works perfectly on your brand new phone, it'll be fine on an older model.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's not all about the technical stuff. At the end of the day, the game needs to be fun.
That's the whole point.
Right. And user feedback is super valuable here. A lot of developers do beta tests where players can try the game before it's officially released. That way, they can make adjustments, fine-tune the difficulty, add features, all based on what players say.
So it's like giving players a chance to be part of the process to help make the game better.
Exactly. And it's all about making a game that people will love, that they'll tell their friends about, and that they'll keep coming back to.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. We've learned so much about what goes into making those games we play every day.
It's been fun. Mobile game development, it's a constantly evolving world. There's always something new to learn and discover.
So for all of you listening out there, maybe you're feeling inspired to create your own mobile game now. Or maybe you just have a new appreciation for the work that goes into making them. Either way, we hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of mobile game design.
And remember, inspiration can come from anywhere. So keep exploring, keep creating, and never stop learning.
That's some great advice. Until next time on The Deep Dive.